Okay, let me see if y'all can hear me from the audio. Okay, I'm pretty sure that people can hear me. Okay, they can hear me. I'm pretty sure they can hear me. One of the things that I want to talk about before I go in, one of the things, types of jobs that you're not going to, that I would get really offended and mad if you offer me, is a job working, number one, on a police station, on a police force. No, you would not. That would be one of the worst things you can come up and tell me is to go and work for. Number two, I don't give a damn if I'm qualified for that shit. No, you're not gonna get me talking about working. Maybe that's why I always got fired on jobs, because I never went against my own people like that. Not like they people always thought I was actually probably crazy. You know what I'm saying? Man, you mean to tell me you gonna do that? You making out? Look, man, I'm not even. Don't even go there with me. And another couple of jobs I don't like. I don't want working and being a school. Oh hell no! All of that. It's white supremacy. Daycare, no. Mm-mm. I do not. No, not me. None of that stuff. Mm-mm. If it ain't got nothing to do with me trying to go out on the streets, which that's what I want to do, go out on the streets, teach my people who they are according to the Bible, and get built up in the faith with this here. This is the only this is the only daycare I'm gonna be talking about is this. And telling my people who they are. And signs right there according to the Bible. That's it. That's the only thing that's all I love to do. I mean, that's the only thing. The first and foremost, putting the Most High first in that way. You see what I'm saying? Mm-mm. No, teaching my people who they are according to God. No, because police forces and all that stuff, it means you're working for your enemy. It says the Metropolitan Police Act created a modern police force by limiting the preview of the force and its powers, and in the envision it as merely as an organ of the judicial system. Their job was political, to maintain the peace. Yeah, right, and apprehend criminals for the courts to process according to the law. Yeah, that, and they the biggest criminals on the planet. Really? Wow. That's what they want to tell you. Police forces and all of that was created to control you as a slave. That's what they used back in the day, is to catch runaway slaves. If y'all don't know that, you see what I'm saying? So how could you claim that you love the Black Messiah, but yet you choose to go and put on a U.S. hat? Like me, uh, I don't wear none of that stuff that represents killing my people. You know, you're not gonna. No, that I just don't agree with that. Mm-mm. No, no, it ain't gonna happen. It says it would be easy to think that the political officer is figure who has existed since the beginning of civilization. That's the ideal of on display in the proclamation from the President John F. Kennedy on the dedication of the week of March. On May the 15th as National Police Week, in which he noted that the enforcement officers have been protecting Americans since the nation's birth. Oh man, hell no, they ain't been protecting it. Yeah, protecting the name of America. No, like You have to understand what police force is. Police force just represents catching slaves. That's it. And a couple of things you're gonna never get me working for: daycare. Hell no, it's white supremacy. Being a school teacher, no, none of that. What else? Office of Correctional, Juvenile Detention Center, all that stuff represents white supremacy. No, you would not see me working for none of that. I done lost the average job because I stood up and I was trying to stand up for my people of color, so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people. No, you're not gonna talk to me any kind of way. Do not walk up to me and ask me about working for like, no, hell no. I'm not, like, what the hell is you on? You better know what you're doing when you walk up to me with that, because I'd be like, okay, you didn't ask the right one. No, I'm not working for that. You know what I'm saying? No, because that's what it's used for. It was used to capture. Why you think with when they escaped in prison? It's just, it's just, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. They would use bloodhounds and dogs to catch what they call criminals that try to escape out of prison. What do you think that is? That was to catch the slave patrols, and far from the American policies, national law enforcement officers memorial found. Okay, all of that is just represents slavery. That's all it is. The prison system is just modern day slavery. That's all the hell it is. You let me tell it. That's what it is. Let me show you. Let's go to the Bible. Let's go to Isaiah 61, verse 1. Isaiah is a long chapter, 66 chapters, and it's a lot of chapters. Isaiah is a long book. Isaiah 61, verse 1. The Bible says, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because he had anointed me to preach the good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives. Now, to the captives, that's talking about the slaves, and the open of the prison to them that are bound. Prison. Now, who fill up the jail cell more than anybody? The so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. Like me, I have family members in prison right now, in jail. All because, now think about it. What would make you think that? Why would they actually? Now, people will use this trick. This is what our people do. They use this trick, is to say it's all about money. It's not about race. They ain't doing nothing but using that to try to water the power, water the truth down. To try, it's like what they're doing. It's like they're giving the so-called white people a pass. That's what they're doing when they say that, because it's a powerful statement to make. And so they're like, it's going to hide what we do. You see what I'm saying? It says to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. This is Isaiah 61, verse 1. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because he had anointed me to preach the good tidings unto the meek. He had sent me to build up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the open of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord. That means that's talking about your nationality. And the day of vengeance to our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praises for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, and the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified. Okay, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord, to preach those who are bound. Now, you do the research, the so-called Hispanics and blacks and Native American people fill up the prison system and fill up the population of the prison system more than anybody. All right, it says a patrol's name do sweeter than I will as searcher for guns, sword, other weapons amongst the slaves in my this district faithfully and as privately as I can discharge the trust response in me as the law directs to the best of my power to so help me God. Slave patrols, Oath, California. Oath, North Carolina in 1828. When one thinks about policing, when one thinks about policies in early America, there are a few images that may come to mind. A country's chef enforced a death between neighbors, a constable serving an arrest or a warrant on the horseback, or on a long night watchman carrying a lented through his sleeping town. These organized practices were adopted to the colonials from England and formed the foundation of American law enforcement. However, there is another significant origin of American policies that we cannot forget, and that is slave patrols. The American South railed almost exclusively on slave labor, while Southerns lived in near constant fear of slave rebellions disputing this economic states, quote, as a result. These patrols were one of the earliest and most prolific forms of early policing in the South. The responsibility of patrols was straightforward: to control the movement and behaviors of enslaved population. That's plain and simple. According to the historian Gary Potter, slave patrols served three main functions. Number one, to chase down, apprehend, and return their owners, runaway slaves. Let's read that again. Number one, to chase down, apprehend, and return to their owners, runaway slaves. Two, to provide a form of organization terror to deter slave revolt. And three, to maintain a form of discipline for slave workers who were subject to summary justice outside the law. Organizing policies was one of the many types of social controls imposed and enslaved African Americans in the South. Physical and psychological violence took many forms, including overseers brutal whoops, the international breakup of families, depraved of food, deprivation of food and other necessities, and private employment of slave catchers to track down runaways. Runaway slave patrols were no less violent in their control of African Americans. See that? To track down runaway slave patrols were no less violent in their control of African Americans. They beat and terrorized as well. Their distinctions, their distinct was that they were legally compelled to do so by local authorities. In this sense, it was considered a civil duty, one that is in some areas could result in in a fine if avoided. In others, patrols receive financial comprehension for their work. Typically, slave patrol route include enforcing uh, curfews. I don't know what that is. Checking travelers for a permission pass, catching these assembling without permission, and preventing any form of organized resistance, as historian Silly Hidden writers in her book Slave Patrols, Law, and Violence in Virginia and Carolinas. The history of police work in the South grows out of this early fascination by white patrols, with what African American slaves were doing. Most law enforcement was by definition, definition, WHITE, patrol patron patrolmen, white patrolmen watching and catching or beating black slaves. That's what they was doing, bro. Some governments ordained local uh, mal, male ties or I don't know what that is, to select patrols from their rosters of white men in the region within a certain age range. In many areas, patrols were made up of lower class. The patrols were made up of lower class and wealthy landlord. Wealthy land landworn white landworn white men alike in other areas pulled names from lists of local landowners. Interestingly, in the 18th century, South Carolina land down, while women were included in the political list of names. If they were called to duty, they were given the options to identify a male substitute to patrol in their place. First formed in 1704, South Carolina patrol lasted over 150 years, only technically ended with the abortion of slavery. During the Civil War, however, just because the patrols lost their lawful states did not mean that their influence died out. In 1865, hidden hidden argues argues there are distinct parallels between the legal slave patrols before the war and ex, ex, ex let's see, I don't know how to even say that word. I lost that word where I was. But some of these words, man, is pretty hard. I'm gonna have to take time and kind of like go over some of them. But I think I did more reading here than ever. But that's what the police force symbolizes, man. I hope it didn't sound like I was stumbling too much, you know. So I'm gonna stop it here because I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna listen to this video and I'm gonna see how I sound because my reading in the past, I told y'all, was very horrible. So we're gonna see what happened. I'm gonna check the video out once I'm done with it, and we're gonna see whether I'm gonna keep it up or not. All right, I'm out. I love y'all as my so-called Hispanics and blacks and Native American people, which are the real Jews according to the Bible, and I'm out.